Hello everybody, I'm James Quattro, and thank you for watching and listening to another episode of Ridin with Quattro. This week, I actually launched this whole thing as a podcast officially, so it is available on all major podcast providers. So if you don't have the ability to watch me on YouTube, I will continue to put them on YouTube. But now I'm also available on all major podcast providers under Ridin with Quattro. So please check it out. Listen to me on your way home or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's just a new way to be able to keep in touch and keep up on current car news, both NASCAR as well as other car news. I am going to try to change it up a little bit and add more non-NASCAR stuff as well to talk about. So this isn't just a straight up NASCAR podcast. That's not what I want. So if you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. It definitely helps me. Check out my walk around videos as well. And I'll continue to add content as much as I possibly can. So let's get to it. So let's talk a little bit about some old news. Let's talk about the Daniel Suarez penalty for his contact with William Byron last week. I think that we all can agree that it was a impulsive decision out of anger and not the smartest thing for him to have done. I'm sure he will agree with that as well. I do not agree with NASCAR's penalty. I do not think it was severe enough. Anytime that a driver is intentionally doing something that could potentially cause harm to a standing human being that is not protected by a car, whether it's a pit official, whether it's a pit crew member, I don't care who you're talking about. If somebody does something intentionally that could result in harm to a unprotected human being, I think the penalty should be extremely severe, and I don't think just a monetary fine like he received is sufficient. That's just my own personal opinion. While we're still on the penalty topic, let's talk about the Hendrick penalty. Unlike popular opinion by pretty much everybody in the world, I believe that the decision that the appeals court made was appropriate. I still feel the monetary fine is way too high considering what was actually done. The part that really bothers me on this whole thing, and the part that everybody's overlooking, is the fact that this was not a competition penalty. The parts that Hendrick is being penalized for were never, not once, used in competition. So why should a team have to suffer a competition penalty of a 100-point fine when the parts in question never were used in competition? That's my own personal thought on that matter. I still don't know that Hendrick did anything wrong. These parts were found in a voluntary inspection pre-practice, and they were removed before qualifying. So I don't know why, in my opinion, there should be any penalty at all. The precedence that this sets, in my opinion, is that if somebody fails pre-race inspection for any reason, then they should be subject to the same penalty. Parts were found on the vehicle that failed inspection. They were removed and replaced prior to competition. So, like I said, if somebody goes through pre-race and something fails inspection, well, then they should incur a penalty. And according to NASCAR, a points and monetary penalty. I think this is a ridiculous precedent, And I don't know why everybody's overlooking the most important fact, regardless of Hendrick's intent, whether it was to give them a performance advantage or just to make crappy parts fit. At the end of the day, they never were competed. So I don't care why they did it. In my opinion, no penalty should have been incurred. But neither here nor there. We got a lot to talk about, so let's move on. It seems like every single week we're talking about Denny Hamlin. Part of me wonders if that is by design by him. But the question of the week is Denny Hamlin a bully? I'm going to put that question on Twitter. Please go check it out. My handle is Quattro and the Roman numeral 3. I'll also link to it in the description below on YouTube. But is Denny Hamlin a bully? Outside the car, he seems like a cool dude. Podcast, I love listening to him. He has great insight. But when he puts that helmet on, does he become Denny Hamlin the bully? And looking at what he did to J.J. Yaley, I think an argument could be made. Listening to his podcast, he claims it was just a mistake. After his last one, he'd be foolish to say anything but. No doubt that it was a mistake one way or the other. But is Denny Hamlin a bully? I'm starting to kind of feel like he was. On the Richmond News, great job to Josh Berry. This kid is really proving the skill that he has. A P2 result at Richmond, man, this kid's going to be something. I hope he catches a ride here in the next year or two. But to go through, granted he's in Hendrick equipment, the best equipment there is. At the end of the race, they dominated that race. But it's good to see him up in that mix and not just falling behind like he has the past couple weeks. But again, keep in mind, he's only a few races into his Cup career. He's allowed to have a couple subpar performances as he learns and gets better. So great job for him, and I really hope that continues. Also a good job for Larson for getting the win. It's good to see him finally close the deal on a win. He's been up there in the mix for wins several times this year. So it's good to see him finally close the deal and get that win. He definitely deserved it. So let's talk car TV. So we talked a few weeks ago about a car show that's coming to NBC called Hot Wheels Ultimate Challenge. A lot more details were released on that topic this week. Most importantly, a date and time was set for when it premieres. It will premiere on NBC on May 30th at 10 p.m. So I am really excited to watch that. It'll give me something to talk about on here. And, it's really cool. Rutledge Wood's the host. I'm still a little confused on the format of the show. I will put a link to that down in the description as well on YouTube, so you can read all the details for yourself. It's going to be kind of cool. It's definitely a mainstream car show. It's not going to be, if you're into like the supercar build shows, you're a hardcore hot rodder or something like that, it may not be for you. It's going to be more for the casual fan. But it's good to see that on a mainstream channel and TV thing. So I'm glad to see something car related in the mainstream. So we'll see how that goes. Let's talk Formula One a little bit. I tripped on an article yesterday that was kind of interesting. It was talking about a developer that is planning on building a Formula One style track in Atlantic City. So my first reaction when I saw this is, does the United States need another Formula One race? I can't think of any other country in the world that's hosting. We've already got 3 in the United States of America. Is there room in the United States of America for a 4th Formula One race? But then I took a step back. Consider this. North America as a continent has 5 Formula One races. They have Montreal up in Canada, Long Beach, COTA, Las Vegas, and in Mexico they have Mexico City. So North America as a continent has 5 Formula One races. Now keep in mind the fact that the United States of America is a giant country. As a matter of fact, it's probably, I'm not a geography major, but I have to imagine it's probably close, if not larger, than Europe as a whole. So, okay, so that puts it a little bit into perspective. Now, Europe as a continent has 8. So, Europe has 3 more races than North America. The Middle East has 5. So the sandbox of the world has 5 Formula One races. So when you look at it that way, 5 and possibly potentially 6 in the whole continent of North America isn't crazy. Just because North America is only a small number of countries, you know, I suppose when you look at it like that, I don't think it's as crazy as you first make it out to be. So now, keep in mind, this is a very distant, possible project. I was part of one in this area that was supposed to be a country club track that dragged on for years and ended up falling apart. There are a lot of hurdles and obstacles for this track. The likelihood of it ever actually even happening are extremely small. So I wouldn't get excited to start booking your trip to Atlantic City for the Formula One race yet, but it kind of brings up a good thought that came across as, does America really need another Formula One race? I guess it wouldn't hurt necessarily, and it would help with a little bit more global diversity. Just to throw it out there, South America has 1 Formula One race. The entire continent of South America has 1. And, you know, I don't know. Africa, I'm not sure actually, because I lumped, I think, a couple African races into the Middle East. But food for thought. So this coming up week is one of my favorite unique novelty races of the year. We're going to be racing on the dirt at Bristol. Not really a lot of drivers' favorite race of the year. You know, there's definitely some animosity about the fact that it falls on Easter weekend. I can completely understand that. I mean, you have to understand that NASCAR traditionally is a very Christian sanctioning body. I mean, the fact that they say a prayer before every race should say that. So to put a race on Easter Sunday, you know, I can understand a little bit of frustration on that. But still a cool thing for the fans. I look forward to watching it as a racing fan, so that's going to be pretty cool. So that about does it for this week's Ridin with Quattro. You know, please like, subscribe. If you have any ideas, please leave your feedback below. Check it out on YouTube. Also, please go check me out on all major podcast providers. Everything from Apple to Spotify to Google to iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podbean, Alexa, Amazon Music. I'm everywhere.
To stream media.
So please check it out. Love to know your feedback. Check me out on Twitter, J Quattro, Roman numeral 3. So J Quattro III on Twitter. Until next time, see you later.